I'm willing to bet this sounds familiar. You spend hours buried in textbooks, chugging coffee and highlighting every sentence until the pages practically glow. You pull all-nighters, fueled by energy drinks, completely convinced that more hours must equal better grades. Meanwhile, your straight-A friend is somehow out every weekend, gets a full 8 hours of sleep, and still walks away with the top score on every single test. What is their secret? Are they just a genius? Did they make a deal with some shadowy academic demon? Nope. They don't have a higher IQ, and they definitely don't have more hours in the day. They have a system. And in this video, I'm going to pull back the curtain on the science-backed strategies that top students use to study less, learn more, and ace their exams. And I'll show you exactly how you can start using them today. Introduction. The myth of hard work. For most of our lives, we've been sold a lie that success is just a direct result of the hours you put in. We're told to grind, to hustle, to sacrifice sleep and a social life for better grades. This is the hustle culture that leads to burnout, anxiety, and surprisingly, worse results. Your straight-A friend isn't working harder, they're working smarter. They've tapped into the core principles of how the brain actually learns, on purpose or by accident, to make their study time insanely efficient. They get that the brain isn't a hard drive you can just dump information into. It's a muscle, and just like any other muscle, it doesn't grow from endless, mindless reps. It grows from targeted, intense, and strategic workouts. The goal isn't to spend 10 hours in the library. It's to make 1 hour in the library more effective than most people's 10 hours. So if you're ready to get your time back and finally see the grades you know you're capable of, let's get into the 5 secrets your straight-A friend has probably been keeping from you. Secret 1. They don't reread, they actively recall. What's the most common study technique on the entire planet? Rereading notes and highlighting textbooks. It feels productive, right? You see the page fill up with yellow, you recognize the words, and you get this little rush of false confidence. But here's the hard truth. That is one of the single most ineffective ways to study. This is called passive review. Your brain sees the information and goes, oh yeah, I've seen this before. But recognizing something is not the same as being able to recall it from scratch. It's the difference between looking at the answer key to a puzzle and actually solving it yourself. One gives you the illusion of knowing, the other actually builds the knowledge. Your straight-A friend gets this. Instead of just rereading, they use active recall. This just means actively pulling information out of your brain, which is scientifically proven to build much stronger, more lasting memory pathways. Studies have shown that students who test themselves with active recall can score way higher than students who just reread their notes over and over. So, how do you actually do it? First, after you read a chapter or finish a lecture, close the book. Seriously, just close the book. Then, on a blank piece of paper, write down everything you can remember. This simple act forces your brain to do the work of retrieving the info, not just recognizing it. Second, use flashcards, but not how you think. Don't just mindlessly flip them over. Look at the prompt and force yourself to say the answer out loud before you turn it over. This creates a tiny pop quiz for your brain every single time. And third, and this is the real game changer, try to teach the concept to someone else. If you can't explain it simply, you don't really get it yet. And that leads us perfectly into the next secret. Secret 2. They master the Feynman Technique. Richard Feynman, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist, was nicknamed the Great Explainer for his amazing talent for breaking down ridiculously complex ideas into simple, easy-to-understand concepts. His secret was a mental model we now call the Feynman Technique, and it is a powerhouse for learning anything. It's just 4 simple steps. First, pick a concept you want to understand. Grab a blank sheet of paper and write the name of the concept at the top. Second, try to explain it in your own simple words as if you were teaching it to a middle schooler. Don't use fancy jargon, use analogies. This is where the magic happens. When you're forced to explain a topic simply, you instantly find the gaps in your own understanding. You'll hear yourself say, and then that thing connects to, wait, how does that work again? That's the gap. That's where your knowledge is weak. Go back and fill in those gaps. When you get stuck or find your explanation is fuzzy, that's your cue to go back to your textbook or your notes. Keep learning until you can explain that part simply. And fourth, refine and simplify everything. Rework your explanation until you have a smooth, simple narrative. Try to create one great analogy for the whole concept. If it's still wordy or confusing, you haven't mastered it yet. Your straight-A friend might not call it the Feynman technique, but this is what they do. When you ask them for help, they don't just spit the textbook definition back at you. They give you an analogy. They break it down. That isn't just a sign they're a good teacher. It's a sign of how they learned it in the first place.
Secret 3. They obey the 80-20 rule. Top students don't even try to learn everything. That's a one-way ticket to overwhelm. They instinctively use the Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule. The rule says that in almost any area, roughly 80% of the results come from just 20% of the effort. Think about it. You probably wear 20% of your clothes 80% of the time. You use 20% of the features in an app 80% of the time. Well, the same is true for your classes. About 20% of the concepts are going to make up 80% of the exam. While you're spending hours trying to memorize every last detail, your friend is zeroing in on that critical 20%. They aren't giving equal time to every chapter. They're putting their energy where it's going to have the biggest impact. So how do you find this golden 20%? First, look at past exams. What topics, question styles, and core ideas show up again and again? That's your treasure map right there. Second, listen closely to your professor. What topics make them get excited? What phrases do they repeat? What do they explicitly say are the key takeaways in the syllabus? That's basically a giant flashing sign pointing to what they think is important and what's likely to be on the test. Third, identify the foundational concepts. These are the main pillars that everything else is built on. If you don't truly get the foundation, you have no chance of understanding the more complex stuff. Master these first. Once you found your high-yield 20%, you attack it with active recall and the Feynman technique. It's not about ignoring the other 80%, it's about focusing your deep, high-energy study time on the things that give you the biggest reward. By the way, if you're finding these tips useful and you're ready to stop studying so hard and start studying smart, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I drop new videos every week on how to learn faster and hit your goals without burning out, and I'd love to have you join the community. Secret 4. They study in sprints, not marathons. Picture the student pulling an all-nighter. They're exhausted, their focus is completely gone, and after the first hour or two, their brain is barely absorbing a single thing. This is marathon studying, and it's incredibly inefficient. Your straight-A friend, on the other hand, studies in short, focused sprints. They use two science-backed methods, spaced repetition and the Pomodoro technique. Spaced repetition is the ultimate cure for cramming. Your brain is designed to forget things over time. This forgetting curve is steep. You lose most new information within a few days if you don't revisit it. Spaced repetition fights this by getting you to review material at specific, increasing intervals. You might review a concept the day after learning it, then a few days later, then a week later, and so on. Each time you retrieve the memory right as you're about to forget it, you make the neural pathway stronger and lock it in for the long term. The Pomodoro technique is all about managing your energy. Instead of one long, draining study session, you break your work into short, focused 25-minute sprints with short 5-minute breaks in between. During that 25-minute burst, you have one job: total focus on your task. No phone, no notifications, no distractions. Then you take a real break. Get up, stretch, grab some water. This works so well because it creates a little bit of urgency, which keeps you on task. It prevents mental burnout by giving you built-in rest. And over time, it trains your brain to get into a state of deep focus quickly, making you way more effective. Your friend isn't studying less, they're just wasting less time. Secret 5. They prioritize sleep and exercise. This might be the most counterintuitive secret of them all. In a culture that worships the all-nighter, top students know that sleep isn't a luxury, it's a non-negotiable part of the learning process. When you sleep, your brain isn't just turning off, it's working hard to consolidate your memories. During deep sleep, the brain transfers information from your short-term memory to long-term storage areas in the neocortex. Pulling an all-nighter is like spending all day shooting a movie and then deleting the footage before it can be saved. All that work just disappears. Straight-A students protect their sleep, especially before an exam. They know that a full night of rest is far more powerful than a few extra hours of panicked, low-quality cramming. And they also make time for exercise. You don't have to become a bodybuilder, but even just a brisk walk can have a huge impact on your brain. Exercise boosts blood flow to the brain, lowers stress, and releases chemicals like BDNF, which is basically fertilizer for your brain cells. It helps grow new neurons and strengthens the connections between them. So while you're downing another energy drink at 2 a.m., your friend is fast asleep, their brain busy organizing and storing everything they learned. The next morning, they wake up refreshed, their memories locked in and ready to ace that test. The secret to your straight-A friend's success isn't that they're a genius, it's that they have a system. They don't reread, they use active recall. They don't just memorize, they truly understand with the Feynman Technique. They don't study everything, they focus on the vital 20% with the 80-20 rule. They don't cram for hours, they use focused sprints with spaced repetition and Pomodoro. And they don't sacrifice their health, they prioritize sleep and exercise to make sure their brain is at its best. You have just as much potential as any straight-A student out there. The difference isn't your ability, it's your strategy. It's time to stop studying hard and start studying smart. Take just one of these techniques and try it out this week. You'll be amazed at how much more you can learn in so much less time. If this video was an eye-opener for you, hit that like button and subscribe for more science-backed strategies to help you win. And now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me the #1 study hack you're going to try first. Let's start learning smarter together.